Thanks for joining us on another episode of The Grind. Here's your host, JB.
Grow. We talk about growth mindset. Consistency is going to be key.
Man, I couldn't think of a better intro to start this episode. If you're not aware, they sealed the deal on Friday night with the win over Davidson. 13th conference championship in program history in the SoCon. That, folks, utterly amazing, to be honest with you. Without a doubt, arguably one of the most successful programs in App State history, wherever it's at in the athletic department, to be honest with you. There's a lot of talk about them sealing the deal for the conference championship, but I think the bigger fact is it's their 13th. I said that the winning tradition continues on and is alive and well in the wrestling program. Just an amazing season so far for the program, the staff, and the young men that are a part of that program, the student athletes. It's been fun. I will tell you, it's been a great show. It was leaving Varsity Gym. I'm not even going to lie to you. Leaving Varsity Gym after they won the Campbell duel was very surreal. I've been pretty close to these guys over the past, I guess, 3 seasons now, maybe 4, because I followed them a little bit before we started this whole thing. But Leaving that varsity gymnasium on that day was a little surreal, but to see them seal the deal down in Davidson definitely leaves me proud and very happy for those young men. Those guys have fought hard, trained hard, and deserve that. We're going to talk to Coach. We'll bring Coach on here in just a minute. We'll talk about the victories in Davidson and at Presbyterian, the the decisive victories at both those locations. And then we'll talk to Cody Bond. I would tell you, Cody is, he's, again, JohnMark has these wrestlers that he'll talk about on occasion, right? Like wrestlers that you haven't even seen yet. When JohnMark and I are talking, he'll mention these names and talk about the progress that they're making in the wrestling room. Cody Bond was one of those names. Before he even stepped foot into the lineup, JohnMark, I think just about every time we talked about the guys that we didn't see on a weekly basis, Cody Bond's name was high on that list. And he, I promise you, I know JohnMark's answers, but I promise you one of his responses tonight is going to be basically, I told you so. I mean, he knows that Cody Bond has been good. I will say last season, I think to the average SoCon wrestling fan, it was probably a little bit unexpected for Cody to take away that SoCon championship the way that he did. But JohnMark will tell you he knows that's Cody Bond, and he knows that Cody Bond can do that on any given day. So looking forward to catching up with Cody. He's obviously been a huge part of the success of this season and of last season. So looking forward to catching up with Cody, talking a little bit to him about his progress here and what he has to look forward to. But let's go check in with the Bentley household. Oh, I don't have it set up yet. Let me get Coach in here. There you go, Coach. Coach, how's things in the Bentley household tonight?
Going well, Jeremy. Just I'm actually, the wife's out running the kids around, and they haven't got home yet. So I'm home, just ate dinner, and so kind of just relaxing a little bit.
So as soon as they walk in and start raising chaos, we'll see you start waving your hands and shooing them and quieting them and everything.
Yeah, you'll probably hear them for sure.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's the part of coaching staffs and staffs of these programs that not a lot of people get to see. I said it today in a tweet. Getting to know you and the family and the members of the program has been fun and an honor. People have no idea what goes into these programs and the dedication and the time that it takes. So it's always fun to see that side of the coaching staff's life. Coach, speaking of that, how's the little Bentley doing?
Well, are you referring to Lucy or Luke?
I guess both of them. How's the wrestling one doing?
Okay, so Luke's doing well. He actually got to travel with us last weekend. The wife was out of town doing some continuing ed for her physical therapy, and I told Luke, he had the option to either stay with one of our parents and hang out with the girls all weekend, or he could travel with Daddy and his team. And obviously, he chose to go with me and the team. And we had a great time last weekend. I took him with the team. He went to Davidson with us. Then him and I went recruiting on Saturday, and then he went with us on the trip to Presbyterian as well on Sunday. So great memories. Obviously, getting to spend a little more time with my son. And I think what's exciting for me is just seeing him starting to fall in love with the sport of wrestling, just like I did. You could just tell that he's getting bitten by the bug. And these wrestlers here at Appalachian State are they're like big brothers to him, and they're his heroes. And, I can't say enough great things about our guys, how good they are to Luke and how much time they spend with him and how good they are to him. And that's why he looks up to him so much. But, really, really proud of our guys. And honestly, I think that, it's a real testament that the fact that I'm encouraged for my own son to hang out with my wrestlers.
Yeah, that's got to be special for a young man like that. And it's always fun to see Luke interacting with the student athletes and the staff too. It's definitely a good time. How's
if you watch any of the dual meets, or if you're in varsity gym, or even sometimes you'll catch him on the streams, whether it's on ESPN Plus or when they're on the road, or if it's on Rockfin, he's invested. I mean, he is getting after it on the sidelines, yelling at the refs, yelling at the guys wrestling. He is invested, and he is locked in from the first whistle to the last. And I would say that's true for all my kids and my wife. I mean, they're obviously a part of this too, and very invested in our guys. So it's there's no doubt about it that Luke Bentley is invested in all of our guys' success.
Yeah, that is an understatement. And he's kind of like a kid brother. When I see him with the guys and the staff and the student athletes, he's just like another one of them out there, giving them a hard time. I tend to see whenever he's rolling around on the mat, he seems to pick the biggest one. Like he's always after the biggest one, or the most advanced, like Ian's and the Randalls and those sort of things. So it's fun to watch him and see that interaction. That is something as most fans and most people that watch the program, they don't get the opportunity to see those interactions. But I will tell you, they're just as rich as watching the student athletes out there wrestling. Coach, how's Lucy doing? It's been a minute since we've seen her for sure.
She's doing good. She's growing, and she's in pre-K this year and seems to be enjoying that. And man, she's a handful. She is probably the toughest of my kids. And Lord help me when she gets to be a teenager.
Yeah, I can relate. I tell everybody that the girl has been the hardest, man. Like, they don't take anything from anybody, including me, which I would rather have her that way, right, than the exact opposite. So I can definitely relate to those sort of boy-girl issues for sure. Coach, it's been man, what a weekend. What a weekend. I think I heard you in your press conference earlier this week, pretty satisfied with the results. I think there was only 2 matches out of the 2 duels that we dropped, and those were in Davidson. And I believe, I don't follow the other teams enough to know, kind of the strategy of the starting lineups going into a lot of these duels. But Davidson has put some points up on people this season, right? I mean, a lot like you said with Gardner-Webb. Gardner-Webb and Davidson is not the same teams that they were last season. They've put some points up on some of our peer schools in the Southern Conference. But to go down there and only drop 2 matches to those guys had to be a pretty good feeling on Friday evening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we don't ever like to lose any matches. I mean, you're trying to win all 10 bouts every time you wrestle a dual meet. And we dropped 2 close matches at 84. Our starter, Barrett Blakely, he had a stomach bug and was not able to make the trip with us, so we had to bump up to 174 to 184. And Chopper Mordecai held his own. I mean, he was giving up 10 pounds, but wrestled a really tough competitive match, and actually had an opportunity to win. Late in the third period, and so we dropped a close one there, but I was really proud of his effort. And then, at 97, Wyatt Miller just got a slow start, got taken down early, and then just wasn't able to claw his way back. And, those are mistakes that, you don't like to make, but, it wasn't from a lack of effort. And then, we just, got the job done in the other weight classes.
Yeah, without a doubt, got the job done in the other weight classes. Burchell had another fall late in that duel as well. Dominating win over Davidson, Coach, 34-6. I thought that there may have been something going on with Barrett that I seen Chopper up that high in that duel. So appreciate that, because I was curious as to what was going on there. A lot of bonus points. Major decision by Heath. I mean, Heath is this kid. I'll be honest with you, Coach. You've got a lot of guys that are making big impacts on the team, and between Heath and Wyatt, it's a toss-up to who's had the biggest impact this season between those 2 young men.
Well, especially faces that maybe at the start of this year that people weren't talking about being impact performers in our lineup, with the lineup we had coming back, but with some injuries and then just development of Heath and some things like that. They found their way in our starting lineup, and have really stepped up and done a good job for us. And I think you and I talked about this back around Christmas time when we knew we were going to have to pull Wyatt Miller's red shirt, is that, this might be the best thing that ever happened to him. Might give him the opportunity to really grow up fast. So, and that's, I think, what's happening.
Yeah, and I guess I think we could probably say the same thing for Heath, right? Like, he's been thrown in that mix pretty early, at least earlier than I would have anticipated, just being a fan. But yeah, Wyatt, just unbelievable season so far for these young men, to be thrown in that mix like that and making some major impacts right away. Obviously, the center four, the two lighter guys, the center four there. Exactly what we'd expect for him. Dominating performances in Davidson. Again, I think a much improved Davidson. Again, I don't know, whether some of these teams that have went and faced them have shifted their starting lineup, or, if there's injuries or illnesses that impacted it. But Davidson has put up some points on people this season that I haven't been used to seeing in the past anyway. So definitely a great performance down there, Coach. That sealed it, right? You guys walked away Friday night, Coach, with your 13th program conference championship and sealing another one for you. How'd that evening end up? What was the feeling in the locker room and in the program after that evening?
Well, I think we just try to take it one step at a time, Jeremy. Obviously, we knew we had to win at least one of those last two matches to clinch the conference championship. But I think in our mind, that was not what our true focus was. We expected to win those duels. Right now, our focus is on sharpening ourselves and being the best version of ourselves in March that we can be, because that's where all our goals come into play. We're, focused on, the Southern Conference tournament and the NCAA tournament. And so that last weekend just gave us two opportunities to work some things that we've been talking about in our training and in our prep to get some real reps. And so I think it was, that was kind of where more of my focus was. I think one of the things that I talked to the team about after the match was being able to impose our will on our opponents, a little bit better. And, maybe not letting a slow start kind of get us into a match where we don't really open it up enough. And they responded well, and I think they took a lot of that advice and put it to use on Sunday, and were much more offensive and, really tried to, impose our will upon our opponents.
Yeah, and you said it in the hype video we watched to start this episode, consistency, right? You said it. I think that word has probably come out of your mouth a majority of our live streams together. Consistency is the key, and if you're consistent in your pressure and your approach and racking up those points and controlling the pace of that match, that's hopefully what happens in March and brings out the best of those and the highest scoring opportunities. So good point there. Coach, you guys went down to a high school gym, I think it was in South Carolina somewhere, against Presbyterian. You wiped them clean, Coach, 46-0.
Yeah, we wrestled, I thought really well on Sunday, and Presbyterian is, they're an up-and-coming program and just kind of getting their feet off the ground here, I think, in year 3 or 4 of starting a Division I program. So they're just starting to get going, but they've actually got some wrestlers at the lighter weight classes that are pretty good wrestlers. And so at 25, 33, 49, I know those wrestlers are all, and 57, those 4 wrestlers there are all actually pretty good wrestlers and do have some quality wins. So, I knew we were going to have to wrestle well in those weight classes to be able to impose our will and dominate them like I hoped we could and get bonus points. And that's exactly what happened. Our guys opened it up, and, I really thought our guys looked really good on Sunday and were much more aggressive and, more offensive. And, one of the messages that I've been preaching to our guys is that scoring points solves a lot of problems. You can afford to make a few mistakes if you can score a lot of points. But, when you don't score a lot of points, the mistakes you can make are fewer and fewer. So that's kind of the whole message is we've got to find ways to put points up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that to say score points is an understatement for that duel. Started out with a major decision, tech fall, fall, major decision, tech fall, major decision, major, tech fall, major. Went into extras and continued it. Major, decision, fall, tech fall, and fall. Coach, you took it to him. There's a lot of bonus points scored in the duel, and then a lot of points scored there in the extra matches. And as you said, Presbyterian, an up and coming program, but they've got some wrestlers down there. They're all capable. They're all very capable of winning on any given day. But it's good to see the guys go down there and really string those high scoring individual matches together. Coach, it's been a great regular season. As you said, this is this weekend isn't what you've fought for, right? This isn't the training program that you've had in place. This is kind of the beginning of it all, really. March, a lot like basketball, is the same way with wrestling. Come into the March Madness next weekend, the 5th. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. March 5th in Boone is a Southern Conference Tournament Championship. What do we have to look forward to there, Coach?
Well, I mean, I think that this is the start of the individual season. In my mind, I mean, obviously the regular season is important because it's like your dual meet season. And so anytime you win a dual meet title, which is essentially what we wrapped up this past weekend, that is huge for our program. We talk about team first and all that kind of stuff. But wrestling's a very unique sport in the fact that you compete as individuals, but you also compete as a team. And in the dual meet component, it's more focused around the team, and you're in one team versus one team competitions. But at the tournament, once we get to the end of the season, we get to what I would consider the individual component of the season. This is where these young men who have worked their whole life to become NCAA national champions and All-Americans, this is where they kind of start, working to make those dreams a reality. And so obviously there's a team score kept. We want to score as many points as we can and win the tournament as a team. But right now this is where a lot of these young men, grew up, and this is, ever since they've been in the sport, they wanted to get on that podium at the NCAA championships. And so that's kind of how we gear our training. And we try to give each one of our wrestlers the ability to achieve at the highest level they can come March. And I think we've got a good system in place. I think our guys are going to be ready. They're not ready right now. We've got to, do a few things recovery-wise and get tapered up and rested and recovered. But our guys are going to be ready to go come next Saturday. You can bet on that. And, it's going to be 8 teams all competing under one roof there at the home center. It's going to be wild. There's going to be a lot of high-paced action. There's going to be team races that are on the line. NCAA bids that are going to be on the line in the individual weight classes that each of these guys are going to be fighting for. So it's going to be a lot of exciting wrestling, and hopefully we're going to pack the home center with a lot of black and gold.
Yes, I don't think I think wild is an understatement, Coach. As you and I have talked about, right, what has happened in varsity gym this season in Boone, and especially on Twitter, kind of the excitement and the buzz from the App State fan base that hasn't typically been a wrestling fan has been pretty amazing, right? Like there's something going on in the App State fan base right now around the wrestling program that I haven't seen before. And I'm pretty excited to see how the home center turns out on March the 5th. And for anybody listening or viewers watching that aren't on Twitter, literally every time this team and this program is competing this season, the buzz around the results on Twitter has been something that I haven't seen before. There's people engaged with the results. There's people that are engaged with the App State Wrestling social medias that I know personally that have had zero interest in wrestling, period, prior to this season. But to see those folks engaged, and there's been a couple of young men that have commented on Twitter to say, I've been to my first wrestling duel or match in varsity gym, but I can assure you that I'm going to be at every single one of them from here on out, Coach. It's been simply amazing, the kind of the movement we've seen in the fan base. And March 5th at the home center is a great opportunity for those fans to continue to see that excitement.
Yeah, Jeremy, the secret's getting out. Our fan base is growing, and I think we put a good product out on the mat. And once you come and experience it, and what an exciting sporting event it is, and especially when you get to know the kind of young men that come from our program. I mean, it's hard not to be a fan. Once you've witnessed one of those intense matches, you're hooked. I mean, you're going to be a fan, and the secret's getting out. I think you're right. I think we've got a lot of momentum right now, and a lot of people are starting to discover that App State wrestling is a pretty unique program.
Without a doubt, Coach. And another thing that's kind of telling, I'm not sure if you saw it or not, but had a young man from the program that was on App State's podcast this past week. Tony Gravely was a guest on, just a second, I will tell you the name of the podcast, but had, let's see, Brett and what's the other gentleman's name? Nothing But an App State podcast. So go check that out. Tony Gravely was on there, produced by App State Athletics with Brett Strelo, the man of the stats. I will tell you, Brett's been throwing out some great stats too on the App State Wrestling Twitter as well. He threw out a couple today. But good to see those guys get the attention of the App State Athletics podcast and start to feature some wrestlers, some alumni on those type of programs. So, Coach, we've said it before. I've been saying, I think every time we've been on one of these live streams, what happens in Varsity Gym is second to none in Boone. And like you said, the secret's out. There's definitely a movement in Boone around App State wrestling, and it's great to see. If you're listening, if you're watching, go be a part of it on March the 5th at the home center. I will tell you right now, it's an all-day event. It's probably going to kick off around the 9 o'clock hour, maybe a little bit earlier in the morning, but it's going to go all day. You're going to be there till 7, 8 o'clock, maybe even later in the evening after the final matches. So plan for it. The finals, I think, will usually kick off around 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken, Coach. Go for a couple hours and see the results, but some of those beginning individual matches are good to watch as well. Coach, anything else from you before we let you go this evening?
No, just if you haven't got your tickets yet, make sure you plan to be in the home center next Saturday. We're going to need you.
Man, it's going to be wild, Coach. I'll be there. I can assure you that. I'll make sure that I make the trip up from Virginia to be there. So, Coach, appreciate having you on this evening. Always good to chat with you. And go give some attention to those kids. I'm sure they're chomping at the bit, ready to hug your neck.
Yeah. See you, Jeremy. Have a good night.
All right, Coach. You too. Hey, always great to have Coach on. We're going to go check in with our guest right now. Let's go make sure Cody hasn't. There he is. Cody Bond, how are you tonight, young man?
I'm good. How about you?
Man, I'm excited to have you on the episode again. It's been fun. It's always great to talk to you. Always good to chat with you. And I will tell you, it's been exciting to watch you out on that mat this season.
Well, thank you. I hope to keep improving and get the job done again next weekend. Move on to nationals.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm looking forward to. As I said with Coach earlier, anybody that's been around Cody, you've probably picked it up with a lot of the conversations from the other guys that we've had. Cody's, when he steps out on the mat, he's a completely different guy than what you see him at when he's not on the mat and not in a duel or a match situation with an opponent on the mat. Cody is, as some have talked, kind of soft-spoken, right? As you would probably guess if you've seen Cody anywhere outside of wrestling, but a competitor. Cody, you've been down, right? I think, as a matter of fact, I think JohnMark said it last time we had him on. That's kind of where you start. Typically in the hole with a takedown. but you've had some big comebacks. You and Will Formato have had some huge comebacks this season. What kind of attitude and what kind of demeanor does it take to be down like that, and just to be able to put on a comeback and come back the way you have in some matches this season?
Yeah, so I will say that just talking with teammates and stuff, like I know Cody Russell, for example, and Will Formato both, they always tell me that that guy doesn't know what's happening. If they score the first takedown on me, it kind of like awakens the beast, is what they'll say. But I mean, I think that I don't ever really think about it in a bad way. If I go down early, like 2-0 lead, I'm perfectly fine. I know that I can get out of bottom and go and score my own takedown and take the lead right back. Like I'm confident in my offense. And like, I don't know. It doesn't faze me really. Like I just focus on scoring as many points as I can in 7 minutes, and then looking up at the scoreboard afterwards to see what the final score is.
Yeah, and it's not surprising, right? For the conference championship last season, if anybody didn't catch it, it was tied up. Cody Bond went into Southern Victory and took a 4-point near fall in Southern Victory to win the conference championship in the tournament last season. Always his wins and those comeback wins are always big. Like I don't think it's rarely ever just a simple come from behind victory. It's one of those where he gets down 2 or 4 points and then ends up beating the guy by 10 or 12 points by the time the match is done. So you always find the ability to pour it on at some point during the duel. And what I will say is it's typically in that third period, right? What gives App State wrestlers that advantage in the third period?
I mean, Coach Bentley talks about it all the time. Our conditioning, our preparation, everything, like our practices are intense. So if you can give it all during practice, I have no fear to go out on the mat and just let it fly, because I know if I'm tired, I can only imagine how tired that other guy could be. So I'm not scared to get tired and still perform at a high level. So that, like, to me, that's like the App State way, is just hard nosed, gritty. Like, we'll fight for everything.
And always the first to the center of the mat.
Oh yes, always. As soon as you go out of bounds, you got to hustle back to the center.
Yeah, I like yours and Caleb Smith. Your attitudes and your outlook on that, and your motivation to be the first one back to the center of the mat is always impressive. No matter what is going on in the situation, no matter how late into the match that it is, you and I think just about every single App State wrestler is always the first one to the center of the mat, and you're looking at the opponent like, what is taking you so long? It's got to be intimidating. I've never been in that situation, so I can't speak to it. But that late in a match, when your opponent is at the center of the mat waiting for you, looking at you, has to give you kind of a one-up on them.
Oh, yeah. I think it definitely does, because, Coach Bentley kind of talks about it in our every day at practice, like our body language and stuff. You never want to show that your opponent that you might be tired or something's hurt, so I think that's like the little details that we talk about. So if we go out of bounds, like, yeah, I might be tired, but I'm going to hustle back to the center. I get my breather at the center while he's struggling to even make it back. He's walking, and it kind of gives me an extra boost of energy to see that, because I know that I'm in better shape, and if I have positive and good body language, then that guy kind of mentally breaks. Like, he just starts thinking to himself, like, how can I even compete against this?
Yeah, and I think that the one thing that we've talked about from the alumni guys that have been a part of this program, the physical aspect of wrestling is huge, but what most people don't realize is the mental aspect, right? The confidence, just knowing that you're better than the guy is worth its weight in gold, right? Just having that mental advantage sometimes in those positions outweighs even sometimes the physical ability.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say that little backstory here, like the beginning of my season was kind of a roller coaster because I was my mindset wasn't always the best, but shout out to Caleb Smith for helping me out with my mindset. We send each other motivational stuff all the time. I keep, I keep, I always play those videos that we send each other every day. It's the last thing I look at before I go to bed because, I want to sleep on that kind of stuff. Wake up, watch it again, um, just to help with my mindset because I've done a complete 180 with it. Like in the beginning of the season, I felt like I had something to protect, and I was playing like the win and loss battle in my mind. And now my mindset is just like, I stay focused. I got tunnel vision. I know what I need to do. I know what I'm capable of doing, and I just go out there and try and let it fly. Like I said, I try and score as many points as I can in those 7 minutes, and I'm not going to look at the scoreboard until that ref blows the final whistle.
Great mindset to have. And I definitely think in the beginning of your starting career in the starting lineup, you could definitely tell that there was a point in that first season that Cody Bond finally realized he's better than anybody he steps on the mat with, right? And it's kind of like you said, to that point, even from season to season, sometimes it gets the best of you. So definitely goes along with the other conversations that we've had. Cody, you've been in that starting lineup for a little bit now. If you could look back and have a conversation with the true freshman Cody Bond, what's the one piece of advice you'd give him tonight?
Man, oh goodness, my true freshman self, man, I would tell him to, it's hard. It's really hard, and if you can, there's going to be days where it hurts, and you ask yourself, is this what I really want to do? But man, stick to the course, buy into everything that our coaches say, and when time comes, you'll be ready, and that holds true to me because I mean it took a while for me to get into the starting lineup. I had to kind of wait, sit my turn, but in that time I was preparing for my time too.
Yeah, it's a great advice because I will tell you, in the social media worlds and in the wrestling circle outside of just Boone, one thing that consistently is mentioned about App State Wrestling, it's the number one developmental program in the nation, right? Like they can take guys that started 2 years before their college career in wrestling and turn them into the Jonathan Milners of the world. And the Cody Bonds and the Caleb Smiths and whoever else is out there that has really developed since they've got to Boone underneath the John Marks and the staff up there at App State Wrestling. So great piece of advice. Cody, all that said, it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of grit and it's a lot of dedication. You're a redshirt senior this year, I believe, right? I think you probably got another year of eligibility under your belt. Are we going to see Cody Bond back in the starting lineup again next season? Have you determined that yet, or holding off on that decision?
I made that decision last year after nationals when I lost out of the tournament. I was like I had a decision to make, and I knew that I talked to Coach Bentley, Coach Miller, Coach Diabe, all those guys. Like I definitely want as much time I want as much time as I can get, with this program and this team. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be back next year. Um, Hopefully, the same weight class and everything. I want to try and get as big as I can, fill out for the weight. Um, you know, I I have high hopes.
Yeah. I will tell you, that's music to our ears as App State wrestling fans. To hear that you're coming back for another season, that gives a lock-in on that weight class. It's going to be tough for anybody to try to beat that starting lineup from Cody Bond next year for sure. Cody, we've talked about your wrestling career. We talked to all of the guys this season about the characters in the locker room. Your name is constantly brought up in the jokesters of the locker room. What's do you like to joke around, have fun in the locker room? What's your what's the character of Cody Bond inside the locker room when you guys aren't training?
Oh goodness, I think my parents are watching, but so they kind of know. I'm a I'm really, I try to be well spoken and stuff, and to my older peers, yes sir, no sir, no ma'am, yes ma'am, stuff like that. You like be polite and stuff, but when I'm in the locker room, man, I'm just a goofy kid at heart, like I like to have fun. I like to joke around with people, I just, people will sometimes like use the phrases that I say and stuff. And it's kind of fun to see that I make like an impact on the team in a positive way, especially like during, like before duels and stuff. Like it's really like a tense scene and stuff. And I come walking through the doors as like goofy kid and telling jokes and trying to enlighten the team and stuff. Because I think that, laughing and joking and stuff is a good way to deal with that pressure. It helps me out a lot because I have anxiety and stuff before I go out and wrestle. So I like to try and calm myself and joke around, try and keep it as casual as possible.
We've heard the term goofy used with your name probably more than any other term related to any of the wrestlers or the staff members on the team. I think one of them even had mentioned that you're kind of like almost like a dual personality, right? Like there's the Cody Bond off the mat that is goofy, likes to have fun, joke around, that sort of thing. But as soon as you step on the mat, it's a completely different person. Is that part of that whole transition for you, getting serious once it becomes time, like go time? Like it's jokes aside right now.
Yeah, as soon as the introductions and stuff are done, that's usually when it's like, all right, it's time to lock in now. I gotta prepare, focus in real quick, especially in my preparation, like my warm up before I wrestle. When I step out on that line, the last thing that I tell myself is I'm prepared to do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
that's the last thing. And I think I kind of said that during the Campbell duel, right when I shook the kid's hand. I actually said it out loud instead of in my mind. And the kid kind of looked at me weird. I was like, oh, I'm just, I like to have fun, like I said, but when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah, for sure. You're one of the guys, whenever I see you outside of the dual environment or match environment, individual match, you always have a smile on your face. And if I had a conversation with your mom, I bet you she would say, I don't know how he does it because he's such a fun kid. When he was younger. And I remember my mom telling me that when I told her I was joining the Army. She told me I was crazy as hell because I'll never be able to stop laughing or smiling long enough for anybody to take me serious. So I'm sure that your mother would be able to relate just hearing the stories of you. So it's got to be fun for your parents and your family to see you out there dominating the Southern Conference the way you have. So Cody, it's been great to talk to you, young man. I don't want to eat up much more of your evening here. We're looking forward to watching you hammer them on Saturday the 5th there in Boone for the Southern Conference Tournament. But one last question I have before we do let you go. Who's the worst driver on the staff now?
I would say, the safest driver is Coach Miller. He goes the slowest, though. But the craziest driver is none other than Coach Diabe.
We've heard that name a few times.
Yeah, I feel like you've probably heard that one a few times.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Cody, definitely appreciate your time this evening. I'm looking forward to another dominating performance on the 5th, Saturday there in Boone at the Home Center.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your time, and good luck if we don't see you before then.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll say it again. Best part of what we do is talking to those young men that make the program what the program is. To see him take away that conference championship again on Friday was, I will tell you, when you get to know those guys that way and spend that much time with them, and I've seen a dozen of them in a gas station back and forth to football games, and obviously we all recognize each other and chat and have a good time and that sort of thing. See them around Boone and in and around campus and that sort of thing. So it's been great. It's been a privilege to talk to them, to cover them. I couldn't be happier to see their success. It's great to see that the fan base is embracing the program the way it is. It was great to see Tony Gravely on with Adam Witten and Brett Strelo on the podcast. Go check that out if you haven't. I'm ecstatic, to be honest with you. I've been saying this for 3 years on this platform, that the best money you can spend in Boone is the season tickets for App State Wrestling. It's absolutely phenomenal. Great to see it all coming together for these young men and to have a successful season. Saturday, March the 5th, they're at the Home Center. I will tell you right now, folks, I'm not going to jinx them, but this could be a special season for these guys, right? I mean, they've seen it. They've had success. They continue to have success through the SoCon and all of the weight classes. Don't miss it. It could be a great Saturday for App State Wrestling. So hope to see some of you there. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Next week, again, it just keeps getting better for App State Wrestling. I had heard rumors, and Coach JohnMark and I had talked about it for a little bit, and it was never, I don't think there was ever anything in stone, but I got it from the horse's mouth this Saturday. Big news, huge news, to be honest with you, for App State Wrestling, and I will have the athletic director, Doug Gillen, next Monday at 8 p.m. right here on Rockfin to discuss that. You're not going to want to miss that. Big news coming out about the wrestling program and to continue to build off the success. I am excited to talk to Doug Gillen about it. I was floored when I heard the news this past weekend, and we'll chat with him more about it on Monday. Hey, it's been fun. Look forward to it. Trying to find a way to make it up to Detroit for the Nationals. So if I'm able to, there will be some exclusive coverage on Rockfin, Rockfin only, if I'm able to make it up there. So fingers crossed. I'm still was talking to JohnMark a little bit before we went on air, and still working out some travel plans. So fingers crossed that I can make it work on my end, and looking forward to it if I can. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. It's been fun, and go Apps.
This has been a production by Yosef Media.